everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video I have another amazing design by Steve Good, and it is going to be a small bookcase meant to house a small collection of books. It's going to be really cool. I've already got all the pattern printed out and attached to our material with clear packing tape. Now you guys know that Fox Chapel Publishing recently sent me some amazing scroll saw woodworking books, and that is what this project is about, making a nice permanent home for these amazing scroll saw books here. But really cool. All the material for this entire project is 1/4 inch material, and it is a tab design. So with it being a tab design, just double check your 1/4 inch material that you're going to be using for it and make sure everything is the correct measurements. The 1/4 inch material I use does not quite measure to a true 1/4 inch thickness, so I have took a scrap piece of it, and on all the tabs I have redrawn the actual thickness of the material that I have on hand that I pick up from Lowe's. So really cool. There is the bottom of the shelf. There is the back where the books will rest. Here are the two side panels, one for each end of the bookshelf, and then there's some small accent pieces here. And it's got a really cool decorative design with these little side pins here that kind of like wedge and hold everything together. Of course we're going to glue it together for a more permanent hold, but really cool. And with the two side panels here, it's got a nice decorative flower that Steve Good has offered, a nice springtime flower. And when I was doing the prep work for this project, I was thinking that maybe I wouldn't do the scroll work here and not do the flower, and then take the two side panels over to the laser engraver and laser etch an image in it. Maybe a word like Artisan's Bookshelf or Artisan's Woodworking Books, or my logo or something like that. I even went and took a scrap piece of the material and done a Pirate's Jolly Roger just to kind of test the theory. And I'm going to stain this so it's going to get a little darker. And then the more I thought about it, since this is going to house scroll saw woodworking books on this bookshelf, I only figured it logical to have some beautiful scroll work on it to really showcase everything on it. And again, I'm really excited to get this project underway, to have a permanent home for those books. I've just been laying them around the shop, and I'm worried that they're going to get damaged or something. So this is going to be a great project to house them on. And since everything is prepared, let's head over to the drill press, drill all the pilot holes required so we can come back to the scroll saw and start scrolling. And over here on the drill press, we're taking a small drill bit and drilling out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And other than the tabs, the only piece that has internal cuts is the two side panels here. And over here at the scroll saw, I'm going to begin by cutting out these small pins, being careful to keep up with all four of them. Stack cutting 2 at a time. And now we will proceed to cut out the slots and tabs. And as you see, I have a small piece of the same material here to test fit all of my slots to make sure everything will be snug. I am using number 5 Ultra reverse tooth scroll saw blades for all the cutting on this project, and they will cut through both layers of stack cutted material as well as single pieces of 1/4 inch material as I'm cutting here. A project like this with the slots and tabs means that you need to be as loyal as you can to the cut line. If you would like to try this pattern, it is available as a free pattern download over at Steve Good's scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com website over in his free pattern catalog. And this is one of his newer pattern offerings, if anyone was curious. Cutting out the two side panels there, and with that slot all of the tabs were cut out, and now we are beginning with the decorative floral design here on the side panels, taking my time and letting the blade do the work. I think if you were very good with digital software and editing photos, if you did not want a flower on the side panel here, you could add another logo or something of that nature to fit the books that you would house in it. But since this has scroll saw woodworking books going in it, the scroll saw flower here was the appropriate design. And it took me around 25 minutes to scroll everything out. Not a very complex pattern. It's just a bigger than normal pattern that I do, and being loyal to the cut line is ever important. Now that all the internal cutting is done, we're going to begin to release all the pieces from the waste wood. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel and also follow me over on Instagram at Artisan Pirate. I'd really appreciate the support. Other than woodworking books, I have a huge collection of books. I've got a lot of Stephen King books, fantasy books, just documentary books or biography books. I do love to read and relax with a good book. I get that from my mom. She reads all the time. Now that all the scroll work is done, we will go over to the workbench and remove all the pieces from the waste wood and get everything laid out and prepped for sanding. And I will sand all of the bigger pieces with 100 grit sandpaper in the palm sander. And I will get the front and back of all the pieces. And the smaller pieces I will sand by hand with a sander here with, again, 100 grit sandpaper. And then it will be time to assemble everything, and I am using dabs of medium grade CA glue and activator, and just double checking and making sure I have everything lined up properly, and putting in those pins. And some of them I had to sand a little bit more to get them to fit in the slot, but it took around 5 minutes to assemble this. And after it was done, I set it aside to completely cure for around 5 minutes, and then we took it over here to the table saw and gave it a nice coat of Minwax wood stain, just making sure that all of the bookshelf was saturated with stain. And then I wiped it off with a piece of t-shirt material that really absorbs the extra and excess stain really well. And then I hung it on a hook to dry, and it dried for around an hour and a half. And I did other things in the workshop, but then I came back and gave it several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss for protection. And after that dried, the project was complete. And here we have the completed miniature bookshelf cut out completely on the scroll saw from 1/4 inch material, and it came out amazing. Thank you, Steve Good, for another fantastic pattern from your ever-expanding scroll saw pattern catalog. It took around 25 minutes to scroll this out start to finish. It's not a very complicated pattern. It's just one of those to where you need to be as loyal as you can to the cut line, because it is a tab design. And if you noticed in the time-lapse portion, I always have a scrap piece of the same material to test fit the tabs and the slots of everything before proceeding on to the next cut. But really, really cool. I had a lot of fun making this, and the flower on the side really sets it off and shows that it is a scroll saw project and not something mass-produced or something. And I like that the tabs here that Steve has in it gives it a very old-world construction look, or maybe an Amish look if you prefer. But really, really cool, and it is rock solid. I think even without the glue that this would be a solid piece with just the little pins there. You guys seen that I had to tap one home in the video because it was just such a tight and snug fit. But the only thing, if you just went that route, you'd have to glue in this little support foot here and the bracers to make sure the bookshelf doesn't sag under the weight of the books. Speaking of the books, I now have a permanent home for the amazing scroll saw woodworking books that Fox Chapel Publishing kindly sent me to use in the scroll saw workshop. But really, really cool. They're now going to sit there comfortably, and you see I have room to expand the collection. Hopefully I get to expand the collection in the coming months and everything. But really, really cool. And now I have to find a place to set it, because in a small woodworking shop, floor space and counter space is always at a premium, but now I have a permanent home for them. Unfortunately, I was just laying them around the shop wherever I could find space, and I was worried they were going to get beat up. Now I have a spot for them to call home, and really cool. And again, when I was doing the prep work for this project, attaching the patterns, I wanted to not cut out the flower and laser etch either my logo or a quote on either side of the two panels here. And I did do some tests off camera, and the more I thought about it, the more I went myself to saying I'm going to stain this. And then I remembered, if you stain something that has been laser etched, it's going to get darker as well and maybe not be legible. And I think it's appropriate that for a scroll saw book collection to be housed in a scroll saw shelf, there needed to be some nice scroll saw work on the side. So that's just my opinion. Of course, you could not cut out the flower, and if you work for a school, you could put a school's logo or emblem in here and have them in the classroom to give everything a very unique look. Or if you collect something, let's just say like military books, you could put your military's branch logo on the side here and fill up the bookshelf with that collection. A lot of options for this. I believe the one Steve Good made on his website, he actually spray painted this, so there's a lot of finishing options as well. But really, really cool. I had a lot of fun making it, and it only took me around 25 minutes to scroll it out. But really, really cool. And as I said, these books now have a home where they will be safe and not get beat up with just being banged around in the workshop. I hope they stay there and don't fall over while I'm talking. But really, really cool. I had a lot of fun in this video, and I hope you guys did too, and maybe learned something new. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, and also follow me over on Instagram at Artisan Pirate. Links to all my social medias as well as ways to contact me will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.